Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. I want to thank Jason as our newest Patreon, and we see more and more people joining us all the time over on Patreon, even just to watch the videos from that platform. As, you know, honestly, there are problems, it seems, almost daily with getting it up kind of anywhere, whether we're talking YT with their issues, Rumble, Brighteon, even Bitchute. Again, sometimes it's tough to get a video up over there, and it's curious because they're obviously installing all their plans for the future, and that those plans are still going forward. And again, we are really, truly, honestly up against AI. AI is really the ultimate enemy, and people, most people, I don't think understand that, and they'll say, well, AI is just coming into development. Oh, sure. AI has been around a lot longer than you or I. And here we go. We have Putin declaring global terrorist Klaus is a legitimate military target. Wow. And, there's multiple sources talking all about this. In fact, Putin himself gave a speech on this, as we've been talking about the WE period F period. And maybe the algorithms are changing now because we are going into a new phase in the big show. And that's exactly what it is. It's one step, one stage, in more ways than one after another. This is a speech that Putin gave.
Разрушение семьи, культурной и национальной идентичности, извращение, издевательства над детьми вплоть до педофилии объявляются нормой их жизни, собственными народами.
As you can see, he's talking about destruction of values, cultural identity, and what their real norm is. We have to recognize, too, that we had that Soviet DEFECTOR talk about back in the 80s that there were already agents of the KGB in place that were going to bring about the destruction of the U.S. from within. And in reality, when we look even farther in, we see that there's elements of the FBI, CIA, et cetera, that are doing exactly the same thing and have been doing exactly the same thing. This should be no big revelation, but again, the average person in Russia, as you can see, she's taking it. She looks like she's got an edge to her. Obviously, the manipulation through emotions. This is what they do. So, in one sense, what's he saying? He's saying, poor Western world. They've been manipulated, but so has the Eastern world, the Northern world, the Southern world. The entirety of the planet has been manipulated as these Russians are being manipulated by Putin. And yet there are still more every day people that are viewing Putin as the good guy. He's another one of them. I mean, it should be very obvious. I know it is to you guys. But it's waking up the ones outside of our circles, because I really do think that, like, our family here on the channels are so far ahead of the curve in understanding manipulation that's going on.
Well, I believe so. I believe that, people can see the good guy, the bad guy, the good cop, the bad cop. They have to have these characters to pedal things forward, to move things forward in a constructive way. It's all about them, it's all about them creating the path for themselves, and they just utilize, the people for that, and they use them as batteries to energize that path for them so that they can stay in power. I think that's like the one thing that we really need to recognize going into this, is that there is no good cop, there is no bad cop. It's just a play that they're sticking us in, and it's up to us if we want to fulfill that play for them, or if we're going to fulfill our own lives for us.
Yes. This has been planned, and the thing to take away from this is the fact that the KGB, the CIA, the OSS, they all, MI6. We could keep going down the line. We could go back in history. They all work together. It's an illusion of being apart. They're not really apart. They're only apart in the sense that each one of them has a particular piece to the pie to put into place. So Yuri Bezmenov explained communist ideological subversion in America. And this, he talked about this. I'll give you guys the link, and you can see he said what's going to happen is they're going to deteriorate everything that's wholesome and normal, at least from the perspective of what we were brought up with, and inverse everything. And obviously they have. So obviously Putin, who before he became in charge of Russia, and he's been in charge of Russia a long time, he was a KGB agent. So, I mean, he was in on this. He's been in on this plan for 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus years. I don't know how long he's known. I think he's about 70, isn't he? So, this is just another stage. So, I think it's almost comical when you think about Klaus and the few. It's almost comical. It's almost like, wait a minute, and so many people have said this. Klaus is like the literal personification of Dr. Evil, as we've said. I mean, he's the literal personification of Dr. Evil. How can you make this up? I mean, from every little aspect of him, he's been molded to work into our, even the outfit. Well, this is exactly what Anakin Skywalker was wearing when he was flipping into Darth Vader mode. Exact outfit. I mean, the symbology, they're all actors, absolutely. And we can go back and we can see that Klaus Schwab says that Putin was one of him. Young leaders, we have a Booty Boot, yes. Booty Boot is one of us, but now articles have said that even though he declared that was the case, they haven't found any evidence that he was, but there's tons and tons of people that are, and they're all over everything going on. Eric Feigelding, he was somebody that I was always kind of trolling until I just couldn't stomach him anymore and blocked him over on Twitter, calling him out for what he was, because here he is. He's a doctor, a DR, and he's talking about climate change nonstop. It's just beyond so obvious. Obviously, Trudeau, I mean, all these people have been selected for one stage in the plan. And again, these are just actors. The actors exit the stage. We're going to a new point in time, and there's going to be new quote unquote leadership on this stage.
Mm-hmm. They pull the curtain. I think when they pull the curtain, that's when they put up all of these distractions. So many distractions that people don't know which laws they're putting into place. But the joke is on us because the laws were already decided to be put into place. They've already been doing them. It's just they decide to put them on paper for us to read now. I mean, the illusion is that we have any control whatsoever.
Yeah, and as we see, these are the biggest names of the biggest names. And as I said before, and I still stand by it, there's not a single billionaire on the planet that's not part of the system. If they are a billionaire, they're one of them. There's no way you could become a billionaire without being one of them. Even when you jump up into just the realm of being a significant, powerful person, they will approach you. We were approached, and we're of no significance on the bigger stage when it comes to, exposure And we were approached, so we know there's tons of people that have been approached by the power structure. The power structure always approaches anybody that it deems useful in a significant way. So when you look at the who's who, and you see a lot of them are getting ready to go missing or more, it's just one shift, and there's going to be a new dominant power structure in town. And when you look to the DEA, GEL current listing of who is the strongest military power, they have Russia listed now at number one. And, economically, it's China. So, yes, the U.S. is in decline. The U.S. is being replaced. It's just a useful tool. And they will portray the side that loses the war. And this is how you know the U.S. and NATO lose the war, because they're going to be the scapegoats. Just like they blamed Hitler, which legitimately, he was one of them. He was one of them. He was carrying out his part in their plans. And some people, view him as a hero. Well, he definitely stroked the egos of Germany that did feel suppressed and abused after the First World War. The treaty that came after was all about triggering them and getting them in the state of mind where they'll be ready to go back to war with the right leader that can manipulate them. And that's exactly what they had. And, again, these people, by the way, you got to realize this is something that you probably won't get from any other channel. What are they promised? What are the Hitlers of the world? What are the Gil Bates of the world's promised? They're promised immortality. That's what they're promised, because, again, the beings that are really directing this show have technology that is light years ahead of us. And these beings do live for thousands and thousands of years. And so they're literally promised to become one of them. And when you look to Ziusudra, who is the earlier version of Noah, as, again, everything from the Bible is taken from other sources, it's a more useful version for the control system because they've cut out so much of the story. And so they give you the cliff notes, and they have enough there to get people to believe, and they make enough things come through after the fact to make it look like it's got to be directed by God. But when you realize that, again, the first meaning of what we term God in the Bible was actually in the plural. And it just means mighty ones, or human, the ones that judge humans, the ones that rule over humans. It's totally, totally different. Again, look to Mauro Bellino's work, and and others as well. He was an ex-Vatican translator. So here we see Iran, part of the BRICS alliance, forcing the U.S. Navy out of the Gulf. Multiple sources talking about this. This shows the IRGC dictating the terms to U.S. Navy, resulting in the prompt landing of helicopters on the Eisenhower aircraft carrier and its subsequent exit from the region. Yeah, well, again, the oil reserves haven't been replenished. NATO has like a week's worth of ammo if it was going into a full-fledged world war. Everything has been set up to make sure that the one side is going to be the new power structure. And every day another major thoroughfare or something shut down in the U.S. Pro-Palestinian protesters shut down LAX airport entrance, causing congestion. And yeah, we're getting ready for, again, what they've showed us in the movies. It's all predicted programming as we understand the bigger picture here. It's not a good time to be in the bigger cities, and many people understand that. Many people are heading for the hills, and we've known many people that have. Meanwhile, while we have homelessness soaring to absolute new record highs, we also have all the wealth being basically constricted and utilized by the super elite, so to speak, to better themselves. As you see, Mark Zuckerberg is reportedly building a Hawaiian compound with plans for an escape hatch, blind doors, and an underground bunker. So you could see these plans. Now, if you do think that there's going to be some sort of event which causes mile-high tsunamis, Hawaii is an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, the largest ocean on the planet. I don't think Zuckerberg thinks that's the case. I mean, he wouldn't be building there. He'd be doing this somewhere up in Tibet.
I don't know. I look at anything that comes out for Zuckerberg that might be remotely personal, and it's hard for me to even believe it, because he's only going to put out there what he wants people to know. And for whatever reason, that's what he wants them to think that they know. Maybe they are building something there. Maybe they are just setting up a thing for people to look at and write reports on. I don't know. This system is just so extremely corrupt. I have to look at everything through that corrupted lens and say, okay, well, what do they want us to know here? And really, it's all so much for their self-service, what they put out there for us to consume. They've put us through school just to be consumers, not for us to figure out problems for ourselves. And we have to realize that.
Yeah. And the more what you do feeds the machine, so to speak, the more you're rewarded. And that's exactly what happens. And so obviously he's been rewarded for what he does. Kulau Ranch is the name of this. It's going to be pretty massive. It's 1,500 acres in Hawaii. I mean, 1,500 acres. Hawaii is so expensive. 1,500 acres staggers the mind in Hawaii. 5,000 square foot underground shelter equipped with its own energy and food supplies being constructed. And others around the world are doing this too, like PayPal and Palantir founder Peter Thiel. They've been building or planning doomsday bunkers in remote places worldwide for quite a while. As the reality of WW3, unless we could at this point in time awaken the actual people that are going to be pulling the triggers and hitting the buttons, it's still going to be on. That's the challenge, is to thwart their plans by getting people to say, no, we're not going to harm our own, because everybody on the planet should be looking at each other as part of something bigger. 3 military-age men from Venezuela coming through Peru. Now, they spent time in Peru, different amounts of time. One gentleman, this one, I believe, was spending 5 years in Peru. They left Venezuela looking for a better life. They ended up leaving Peru and heading up here when all the borders were kind of opened for them. The borders have been opened on purpose. This is part of the bigger plan. This is, again, the round robin. And Cindy had picked up that there is something about that term, round robin. That's part of what they are talking about. It's part of what the terminology that they use. Because they are banking on us and our apparent differences keeping us apart. But there's also this change in consciousness, which is being led by the sun and other cosmic energy, that is awakening abilities in us and a connection to the planet and to each other. That's what they are racing against. They're racing against the natural order of things.
Mm-hmm. I picked up that term round robin, whether it be like literally a giant world game of round robin, whether it be a code word, whether it be something that they're going to enact. I don't know. The words just came to me, and I really believe that there's something to it. But yes, they absolutely bank on us being angry at one another in some way, shape, or form. And that's our responsibility, because the only thing we can really control is our response to things. We can't control anything anyone else does. So it's up to us to want to fill in the gap, to have that desire to figure things out and help make them better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with Putin's situation, he does have Draco that are puppeting him. And again, Cindy can actually see that. So if you're of a more fundamentalist persuasion, yeah, he's being puppeted by demons.
Well, I know it's not what people want to hear, but it's like we have to understand that everyone is being controlled. I mean, you can choose who you want to be under. Putin seems like the better idea for most people. I there's nothing wrong with that, but understand that there's still the control force that's there. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying he's under control of the Draco, and that's his decision, and we have to make ours.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, pick your poison, choose your demon. They're all under this system. That's the thing. You can escape from one side of the system and run into the other side, but you're still in the system. And meanwhile, LAPD's first non-citizen police officers are set to graduate from the academy. As we understand, it's been talked about since the 80s, again, that they'll end up using the UN or some sort of military policing power to police U.S. and other NATO countries' citizens, because U.S. and NATO citizens would treat their own differently. But what they're not counting on is an awakening humanity. And when we look at nature, you see this cat adopted a puppy and is taking care of a puppy like it's its own. This is not what they can even understand. This doesn't compute to the leadership of this world, because the leadership of the world looks at everything from a totally self-centered point of view of what can you do for me. And I don't think it's that the cat's thinking, well, this dog is going to be very, very helpful when he's grown up and he's going to protect the whole pack of kitties. No, she's just saying, you need some love. You're young. You're alone. You could be one of us.
And I think we could learn a lot from animals.
Yes, and just when you think the video's over, it's not. So I just wanted to throw in a little lightness there. But we have more. The U.S. spends $50 billion a year on secret black projects. This is from Dr. Steven Greer, as he tags himself as the foremost authority on UFOs and ET intelligence and technologies, initiating peaceful contact with interstellar civilizations. Again, they're going to let us know. They're going to reel out extraterrestrials and perhaps beings that have been inside the Earth as well. There's, of course, been legends of Agartha and Shambhala and these inner Earth civilizations. In fact, these legends are universal, and people all over the world in a tribal setting know this. It's just, it's stuff that you're taught as a kid growing up, that there's beings inside the planet as well as beings that are out, and they live on planets around other stars that you see in the sky. And yet at the same time, the disclosure we get is going to be a twisted disclosure with a purpose. So yeah, foremost authority, well, he's done some good work, but you have to always say, anybody that's reached hundreds and hundreds of millions, again, you have to look at everything with a suspicious light, and you should be looking at everybody, us too. Don't just blindly trust us. You have to feel, does this feel like it resonates? Does it feel like it resonates with you? Again, each person is at a different point. So warning to parents, they are already feeding your kids insects without telling you. If you're feeding your kids anything conventional, 2 ingredients to look out for: E120 and E904 are additives found in many food products which come from insects. There are currently more than 100 products containing these additives. Most of them are products intended for children. European authorities in the field of food safety have devoted many scientific works to the examinations of these additives and affirmed their impact on various health aspects: hyperactivity, allergies, allergic reaction, asthma, genotoxicity. So, again, this is a great reason to not eat processed foods. You have to be very, very careful. If you go and look at a label that has, a dozen items, I wouldn't touch it. I really wouldn't touch it. When you start getting into things that sound more like chemicals than food, don't touch it. If the first thing is sugar, don't touch it. It's just this. We have to go back to eating as simply and cleanly as possible if we are to survive these times. Again, the chitin in insects will end up causing an inflammatory condition in the body of many, many people. And that's going to weaken your immune system, and which is going to lead to more cancers and more of everything when it comes to disease. Because again, inflammation is the root cause of so many diseases. Italy becomes the first nation to ban Gil Bates fake meat due to serious health concerns. So yeah, we're seeing a pushback. There is absolutely a pushback going on. As many people make this statement, they will never trust anybody in the medical field again. Bravo. Bravo. It's time to wake up that we've been played. We have been played. But have you seen the Gingerbread Man? There is.
Drive in Arlington.
My wife said, hey, listen, there's this guy, he didn't ring the doorbell, he's just standing there. He's in this Gingerbread Man costume. I'm like, Gingerbread Man? What?
This man, who asked us not to disclose his identity, says they didn't know what to do, so they just watched.
Also, we noticed the door was trying to be pushed. We looked at the camera. I'm looking at this guy in the costume.
He felt like he needed to report it to someone, so we called the non-emergency police line.
I just told him, listen, I just want to report this. This is not an emergency, but some guy came with a Gingerbread Man costume. And they're like, a gingerbread man? I'm like, yes, a gingerbread man costume. I have the video.
Several neighbors told WUSA 9 they saw the gingerbread man along George Mason Drive throughout the evening on Wednesday. And while he certainly didn't run, he also wasn't caught. And it's left these neighbors feeling a bit unnerved.
It is kind of like a horror movie, but in this costume, this whole ordeal, what was the goal? Is it to
So just a drunken person, or I don't know.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, again, life is like a movie. Sometimes it's a horror movie. And, I just thought this was kind of cool because everything spirals. So when we see the spiral, we don't come exactly back to the same point in the spiral. I was reading something that was talking again about the Padma Purana, and man, I want to get a hard copy of the Padma Purana because these Puranas, these are Hindu holy books. We have the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and so many other ones, and I do have a few of the Puranas, all the Upanishads. They're just loaded with stuff that's just mind-blowing from a scientific point of view, and literally the way they are always openly talking about extraterrestrials and even different extraterrestrial species. But they talk about how the universe works, how it moves, how planets move, the span of our galaxy. Again, Richard Thompson's works are a great place to go, and there was a few people mentioning which one to start with. He wrote quite a few different books. I would say maybe if you're more into the who are the aliens, really, Alien Identities would be the book I would start with, because he goes into modern day UFO reports, and the other half of the book, and the other half is all about Vedanta and the Puranas, and showing how clearly stated it is that we had constant ET contact in the past. Constant. We knew it. I mean, we knew it. It's been erased from our memory. When you look at the way the solar system goes through and orbits, as we are part of a trinary system, we are actually part of three suns that do move together, which is itself part of a bigger system. And this is how it works. It's one bigger system, part of something bigger, part of something bigger, part of something bigger. But the as above, so below aspect is something we can clearly see. As you can see how DNA spirals, and we are in the process of more DNA spirals. We've been two-stranded because we've been stranded. Yeah, absolutely. We've been stranded by our two strands, so to speak, and we're on our way to developing more strands. And in fact, they've found 3 and 4 strands in individuals. It's even been documented now. So this is all part of that big reveal, and it's just fascinating to behold. So what does the world need right now? Well, this puppy knows exactly what this little one needs. A hug. And you can always count on your animals to give you love. They love so purely, truly. We have literal angels around us all the time. And some of those angels come in furry bodies. And they will always show you just how much they love you when you're down. And even if you've had a bad day and you're grumpy, they will still always forgive you.
Always.
Much love, Source Bless.
Namaste.